Welcome back to the Feel Your Feelings podcast. My name is Victoria Makanjuola, and I am your host. Today, I am joined by Jake April. Jake is based in New York. We're both in the same writing group called the Unsealed, which is founded by Lauren Brill. And Jake is he reached out to me because he wants to share his story, and I'm so glad to have him on my podcast today. And first and foremost, Jake, how are you feeling?
Yeah, thank you very much, Victoria. I'm feeling good. Um, Blessed to have a platform like this to be able to tell my story on. So all is well with me. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you for asking. I am doing well. I'm back in my studio, so to speak, basically my room, with my new logo back here. But I'm feeling good. I enjoy this podcasting process and talking to people and getting to know people, especially wanting to hear your story now. So thank you for reaching out to me.
Oh,
So
thank you.
yeah, awesome. So what do you enjoy doing? I know we kind of spoke a little bit about Love Is Blind, so let's get into
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So, um, I'm a big self development kind of person. So you would think Love
Hmm.
is Blind is not really self development. It's just a drama and love story. But in watching it, I've watched several seasons now, and
Hmm.
being a physically disabled person,
Hmm.
um, that's the first thing you notice about me.
Right.
And in Love is Blind, for those
Hmm.
who don't know about it, it's basically what it says because you have a wall that you talk
Yeah.
to the other person about,
Hmm.
that you talk to the other person with, excuse me, and you don't get to see them until you get engaged. So that's really cool for me to think about because it gets rid of the stigma that is your physical appearance.
Yeah.
And
First impressions.
I think it's a little bit different than the average person because I am very cognizant of my physical appearance. Not to say others aren't. Excuse me. I'm in a minority that
Hmm.
tells people that I have a physical difference, and I don't know if you feel the same way being in a minority yourself, but
Absolutely.
yeah, the show has really helped me figure out what is truly important, which is the values that you are aligned with when it comes to life, and that's what creates love.
Absolutely. And I love that you opened up. Thank you for sharing more about, your physical disability because shows like Love is Blind, and that's such a fantastic example. And I love the Seattle season as well. And, maybe it's an idea, but maybe, have you thought about pitching shows like Love is Blind and asking them to have perhaps a show featuring people with disabilities on the show, you know?
I
Would it be
think,
something that you would be interested in?
I think people, uh, one of my, uh, um, one of my cohorts or just someone I know, acquaintance, is doing that. But I actually think having people with disabilities on it altogether, just having a dedicated season
Yeah, the
would
season.
would not really would detriment the purpose of it actually than include it because for me the reason why I am very keen to watching it is because I watch other people without physical disabilities and not care about what you're looking like. And if you have a physical disability, knowing that you have a physical disability going into it, you're going to have preconceived notions,
Mm,
possibly, because you don't
true.
know if the person behind that wall is, you probably know it by their name, but you sometimes you don't know if they're black, white, European, and
Perfect,
if
yeah.
there was a mixed race, if there was a season dedicated to those of who have disabilities, you would kind of know what it was. So you would have a preconceived notion. So for me, it would be advantageous to have someone who is disabled within the mix of people that are showcased on the show.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good point, and I would honestly love to see a pitch proposal to the producers because one of the what are they called? One of the people that was on this season in Seattle, Chelsea, she's gonna start working as a producer for Love Is Blind, which I think is
Oh
great
wow.
because it's the first time that someone from the pods is
Yeah.
now participating behind the scenes and gets to call the shots
Yeah.
because she's been in the situation. So
Yeah.
I mean, I would shoot my
Yeah.
shot. I
Yeah.
mean, hey,
I don't know if I would want to get married right away, like that,
yeah.
but maybe kind of a girlfriend boyfriend kind of thing,
Yeah, yeah,
or if you're
that'd be cute.
homosexual, that girlfriend boyfriend kind of thing, binary. I'm not trying to be one way, or I'm trying to be inclusive here. So
Yeah, right. Totally, totally. And maybe we will get to see that in the future. So
hopefully,
that
hopefully,
that'll be cool. Okay, so we're both involved in the Unsealed. So the Unsealed is a writing group where you can write open letters on the platform. So basically, like a dear Oprah, right? And you just write your heart out, and it was created by Lauren Brill. So shout out to Lauren if
yeah,
you're watching this. Hey,
yeah.
but I love that group because it allows me to write freely and just like connect paper pen to paper, and that's something that I've been trying to get better at and more consistent with is my writing. So my question for you, Jake, is how did you get involved with the Unsealed?
It was actually a interesting story. If you believe in a higher power, which I do,
Yeah, I do too.
I
Faith over fear. Faith over
yeah.
fear.
so so one of the people that I confided in my life about my disability and felt comfortable with doing it, my family, of course, and but other than that, it's not really something I'll speak
Yeah,
about my own things regularly. And one of the people that I spoke about with it on a regular basis, almost all our conversations were about it, but not in a way of sympathy or empathy. It was just a way of
with Lauren.
Lauren, no,
Yeah.
learning. Um, no, I with this person that I'm gonna bring up was my
Oh, I see. I
yeah
see. Never
was
mind.
my cousin. She
Okay.
was
Okay.
studying to be an occupational therapist. She unfortunately um died of a heart
Oh,
condition.
I'm sorry.
So thank you
Mm.
very much. So I was going and speaking with my aunt, who's a psychologist, and telling her about my difficulties about just living with a disability and
Mhm.
living, and she suggested that I go and look up one Allison Cohen in on Instagram, excuse me, who's a psychologist, and
Mhm.
she was doing a interview with the Unsealed. So when I saw her name pop up and the Unsealed pop up, I looked into it, and I'm actually trying to be a sportscaster myself. So Lauren and
Oh,
I
yay.
have that together,
Mhm.
have that interest together, and she served as a mentor to me. And actually,
Awesome.
Lauren is the middle name of my cousin, so I kind of really saw it as like a sign,
That connection.
a connection, yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
it just showed me that it was okay to open up with others about my disability, and it's a complicated story, but I hope I explained it relatively well.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think we all have our own unique ways. Because I've also connected with other people from the group too. Jamie Ellifritz as well, who was on my podcast. He's also into sports and everything. So I think for me coming into the Unsealed, I really don't really know how I found it. I think I just kind of stumbled on it. I honestly, I don't know, but I had sent the company like a message on Instagram about membership and like how it works, and like they responded back, and then it was like, this is Lauren, by the way, like I'm the founder. And I was like, she's so responsive.
Yeah,
So I think that really stuck with me, like the willingness to like answer my questions and just kind of bring me into the process. And
yeah,
she makes us feel so welcome whenever we're in one of the
yeah.
meetings or workshops.
And she included, you feel so welcome because the reason why she started it was because of her
Her story.
battles with sexual assault and
Yeah.
writing an open letter about that. So
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
someone who leads the charge is actually going and opening up about their story, it's much easier for you to open up about yours. And
Yeah.
having a platform such as Unsealed for a website is great. Now we've gotten into books as well, and
Yeah, new book.
yeah, new books, and I've seen that you've been published. So
Wait,
congratulations.
was I?
I
I have not seen it yet, so I
maybe
haven't.
maybe it was a different Victoria, but
Maybe, but
um,
I have yet to see it. So I'm sorry, Lauren. I know you've been promoting it, but I haven't got a chance to go.
yeah,
I will link it in the description, but
yeah.
I haven't got a chance to check it out. But I
I
mean, I'm
believe
gonna look.
so. Um,
I'm gonna look.
but yeah, just having different ways to promote our stories and feel accepted into a community. You know, when you meet each other, you know the purpose of it, and you know that you're gonna be be backed and understood by everyone in the crowd, which you don't
Totally.
always is not always a guarantee for life.
Yeah.
So having that platform and going into it, so yeah, I get emotional, but having a platform and going into it every week in which I know that the people that I see in that Zoom box know how to empathize with me and I do as well, or sympathize
Yeah.
with me and I do as well. That's just a great version of therapy for me. Um, and it's
Yeah.
dramatically changed my life for the better.
Yeah. That's a priceless feeling. I know Lauren's gonna love this when she sees it. So like, I can't wait for her to see this. So okay, so on to joy, right? The
Yeah.
feeling of joy. What has brought you joy in the last week?
I think knowing that I would be on this podcast actually. Um,
Stop.
well, no,
Stop.
I really enjoy the fact that I get to be on other people's podcasts and be able to vocalize my story. And I think as I've done the internal work as well, I've figured out what helps me and what doesn't help me. And I think that's it's interesting because every story is unique. And
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about this with my psychologist because
Mm-hmm.
we see we see motivational videos every day telling us what we should
We
do
do.
and get up and do everything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually tell us that we should reflect on what we've been doing. And that is part of the purpose, part of the process. And the first the first kind of chapter of the book is accepting that you've gone through pain. And you don't need to forget about that pain. It's okay to say that that is still bothering you.
Mm-hmm.
It just so happened that today I was doing well, but some days on here, like you're gonna ask how people are doing, and for you it's authentic. So sometimes we're gonna say, I'm not doing as great as I thought because I'm in my head and feeling about those experiences that hurt me very much. But if I didn't know about those experiences, I wouldn't be able to go on the other side and get through the tide that is so hard to get through. You're gonna go in waves, but as
Mm-hmm.
long as you're trying to hit the wave with your own strength and
Mm-hmm.
hit the tide with your own strength, go forward most of the days is great. You're gonna have bad days. I'm gonna have bad days. You're gonna have bad days. Everyone in the world is gonna have a bad day.
That's right.
And if you don't think about it, just listen to the news where you actually see like Gordon Ramsay lost his son and stuff like
Oh,
that.
wow.
So I think it was Gordon Ramsay. So you see and you see that no one's accepted or excluded from pain, no matter who they are. And just because they don't show it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
That is absolutely real. Yeah, yesterday was kind of one of those roller coaster days for me, but I don't show up in that. Right, every day we change. Like every day I feel like I bring a different version of myself and I try to bring the best version of myself. But like you said, some days you're just going to be like, I'm not it. I'm not
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
I'm not my best version of myself. And I think that's something that Gen Z kind of struggles with is embracing vulnerability.
yeah.
And I saw a post and I've been thinking about it for a while is that we are, when it comes to dating, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to friendships, there is an unwillingness to be vulnerable with other people because we don't trust other people. Because it's like if you are vulnerable, there's a sense that if you're vulnerable with other people, then they could take that and use it against you as like a weakness or something, you know?
Most
So it
definitely.
definitely starts with trust, and that's something that I'm really wanting to cultivate authentically on this podcast, not just with other people, but like starting with myself
Yeah.
as well.
It starts with yourself because if it doesn't start with yourself, then you're trauma bonding,
Yeah,
which doesn't sit well with you or the other person.
exactly.
So it's important to actually, no pun intended, but it's important to write about it first.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
if you're journaling it or if you're writing about it, it's important. And you asked what my hobbies were. Writing,
Yeah, what about you, Joy?
is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
what I enjoy. Writing is that, but also listening to books is that as well. So, and if I want to get closer to a person, I think what I discovered is like, hey, I don't want to tell them all about my life just yet
Hmm. Hmm.
because they're just in my life. They just came into my life.
Right.
Do I want to give them a peek of what my life is about. So instead of me telling my story, I'm going to use someone else's story who already has written a book about something, not
Hmm.
necessarily about me per se, but about the struggles of dealing with X, Y, and Z and how to come over it, come up with it. Um,
Yeah.
or not how to come up with it, but how to not overcome it, but how to come to grips with it and flow into the other side. Of course, there's going to be riptides, but try your best
Excuse me.
to go to the other side. And I think that's what is great about books is because it doesn't need to be the same exact story for everyone, but they can
Hmm.
relate to other people's stories. And Lauren says all the time it is when she reads this story, she said it's not my story, but I can pick a part of at least one part of every story
Yeah.
that I relate to. So that's the great part about writing and reading books and watching shows because you can talk about things that aren't personal to you, but but the topics that are personal to you are important to bring up. But now it's not about you, it's about the thing that you're watching. So that makes it easier to bring up vulnerable topics, I believe. I hope that
Absolutely.
makes sense.
No, absolutely. That resonates so well. There's shows that I'm even watching right now that like they talk about things that like resonate in my own personal life as well, and like bridging bridging those gaps. I think the most important thing you said was about journaling.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I definitely want to get better at, is just journaling my thoughts more. I do like video diaries, but like actually like writing
Yeah, yeah,
writing things down.
yeah,
But you mentioned, books and everything. This brings me to our speed round. Are you ready?
yes.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, so the first question is, what's the last song that you listened to?
I think it's 3000 by the Jonas Brothers.
I like the Jonas Brothers. I like the Joe Bros. They were in Dallas for a concert recently.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I didn't go, but
Yeah.
they were here. Okay. Finish this sentence. I truly believe that.
I can't overcome my difficulties, but I can improve them.
Mm, mm, that's good. That's a good one, Jake. My favorite book is.
My favorite book is The Eight Rules of Love by Jay Shetty.
Stop. That's on my list. I was okay, so I was flying to no, I was flying back home from LA, and the lady on the seat next to me was saying that she read the book. And I was like, okay, I have to put that on my list. So that's another sign. I need to read that book.
Yes.
Okay, in 2 words, I would tell my younger self to
Evaluate differently.
evaluate differently.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit?
Yeah. I think when we're younger, we get in a point where we're so influenced by other people and we evaluate ourselves based on how they interact. Pick maybe we pick a celebrity or someone that we watch on TV. Hey, I love their song, but do I love them as a person? So we can say we can put the two separate and say, hey, I love their song, but I don't love their values. So
Mm,
let me evaluate. Okay, I still love their song. I don't
yeah.
love their values. But who else could I go to that maybe I don't love their song, but I love their values?
Values.
So if we
Right.
can make up ourselves uh, through a portion of other people, that is how we're going to grow in life.
I love that. Absolutely love
So it's
that.
all
That's been
about
one of my
evaluating differently.
that's been one of my favorite answers so far. That's gonna stick with me. Okay, so last one for you is right now I feel.
Right now, I feel like I'm growing as a person. I feel that I'm able to see, hey, I'm not to the end goal yet, but I can make steps to that end goal. For example, I want to be in broadcasting. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
broadcasting for ESPN. That's my goal. But I could at least try to broadcast by myself and try to be as better as I can. I'm not doing it right now in that aspect,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
my other goal is to be a motivational speaker. So
Mm,
there's
love
ways
that.
that I'm doing that right now
Yeah.
to help me progress in my speaking by having taking opportunities like
Yeah.
this to elevate my presence and my work and review it and see what I can make it make better. And
Yeah.
I think when we are evaluating things, for me especially, remember, I should remember to stamp this point or have you stamp it if you don't mind, um on like the recording. We should we should make sure that we're critical of ourselves, but
Mm,
also make sure that we give ourselves grace. So as
yeah.
I'm looking for this, I'm gonna tell myself that, hey, possibly my voice was a little bit high on that. Um, but then what I deliver was that more valuable than what I said. What 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 I delivered more important than how I than if I said it wrong.
If it resonated,
If it
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
that for me is important. When you There's always another side of the coin often. What we do as people is we take that one side of the coin that everyone is gravitating to, and most
Mm-hmm.
of it is negative. And our
Mm-hmm.
mind is
Mm-hmm.
built to be negative. So
It
we're
is.
gravitating towards that side of the coin that's telling us, well, your voice was bad on this, or you didn't look so good on this with your headphones on or whatever for
Mm-hmm.
me. But I but when it comes down to it, is that important? No, because what's important is the message that I am
Yeah.
trying to convey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the ultimate goal here, is the message that I'm trying to convey. Now, if I came on here looking messy, it was noticeable that I was messy and my hair was all bad, and people can notice it. That's a red flag, because you don't want to bring attention to something that you think is negative. But it needs to be obvious. So if I didn't brush my hair today
Right.
and I looked like my hair was all over my face and you couldn't see
Mm-hmm.
my eyes, then that would be something to change.
Yeah.
If I didn't like the way my hair was combed today, it was combed fine, but but it was combed fine to other people, but it wasn't combed fine to my liking, then that's something I need to take into account and say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm being too hard on myself for this
Yeah.
instance. And
Yeah.
oftentimes we'll reflect and say, yeah, we're being too hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
That's, that's the ultimate goal here, is to recognize that there's a place to be hard on yourself and there's a place to give grace to what you are doing at this moment.
Mm.
Lauren asked me to give a positive, I guess, about my disability yesterday, or she put it in some kind of way. So I said, because I started off um with a story about my body. Said, I love you, but I severely dislike you. So she asked me why I loved it and why I severely disliked it. I love it because it teaches me things, but I hate it because it points itself out every single day to someone else. And I have trouble looking back at what's great about it. But looking back, when I was in 11th grade or something like that, I wasn't putting on my clothes myself because I didn't think that was important for my growth. I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to college, so I learned how to do it. And I now put my clothes on myself, I shower myself, I put my sneakers on myself. And is that a big deal right now? No, because I do it every single day. But
Right.
reflect and take a moment to know that it was a big deal one time in point. And
Mm-hmm.
what that is for
Mm-hmm.
you is different for me. But reflect and take the moment to say, hey, X and Y was hard for me to do
Mm-hmm.
a year ago, a month
Mm-hmm.
ago, a week ago, and now I'm doing it 2 years ago, or whatever time frame it is appropriate for you to do. Just say, hey, I'm I'm still not there. I want to
Mm-hmm.
grow, but
Mm-hmm.
I've grown so much throughout this time, and when you add it up, I've grown more than what I need to grow now. So just take that in mind and realize that you've done so much more than you
Yeah.
thought you've done.
Yeah.
We
We
just,
we deserve a pat on our back for
yeah,
that.
we just
For
take
sure.
days, we take days and hours just like they evaporate in time and we don't reflect. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure, like when you first started Feel Your Feelings, you didn't get as many views that you get now, and then you have like you had an author on, and that was a big deal.
It was
So
TikTok's number one author, by the way.
so
It was, yeah,
it's a big deal,
yeah,
and your first podcast was a big deal. So
yeah,
it's it's not that it's not that I don't want to keep growing. I do, but
yeah.
the way you keep growing is by having grace for yourself.
Yes, yes. Keyword, keyword. That's something I'm gonna take and I'm gonna run with it. And I'm just putting it in my back pocket.
Yeah,
I'm just taking that for the rest of the day. Honestly.
yeah,
Um, Jake, this has been an amazing podcast. Truly, truly, from like the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here and for sharing your story with me. And I just hope you do many, many, many more of these speaking engagements, podcasting. I'm really rooting for you. So, where can my audience find you and where can they keep up with you?
yeah. First of all, Victoria, I sincerely appreciate that. As I said, your audience is only growing, so that is gonna help me. You could keep up with me on Instagram at adapting to the number two your abilities. So that's ADAPTING two, the number two. Your YOUR abilities is ABILITIES. I think I got that right. Um,
I'll link it. I'll link it in the
yeah,
description.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
So I'm not a great speller. Thank
It's okay.
do that in this age. But you could do that, and you can, of course, follow me on the Unsealed. My username is
Yes.
April, and go check out all the fantastic work that everyone has done on the Unsealed, and give Lauren props for what she's
Yes.
doing.
Yes. Props to Lauren, props to the Unsealed, all the amazing work that's going on out there. Yeah, I love what she's doing. And maybe I'll have her on the podcast sometime.
Most
Maybe.
definitely, you should.
For sure.
Good,
For sure.
good,
And
good.
yeah, the broadcasting thing, go for it. Go for it. I can't wait to see you in your element. So thank
Thank
you so
you
much
very
for
much.
being here, Jake.
Thank you very
Also,
much, Victoria. I appreciate
yes, you're welcome. Don't forget to be a kind person, you guys. You feel me? Bye.